Welcome back to the France 24 newsroom. We want to go right live to Algiers, where French President Emmanuel Macron is addressing a group of French expats during his trip to Algeria. Let's listen.
Because the discussions that we had with the president were much longer than expected. So that's a good sign. And mostly, we had discussions in a new framework, new since 1962. We met with the ministers for armies, the chief of staff, and a few other officials. So this shows that we want to make headway on strategic security issues, existential issues. That was a closed area so far. At least we didn't make enough headway. We didn't open enough, but we did open enough over the last few hours. So I apologize, but here I am. And I'm happy to be with you and to see you, all of you. First, I'd like to say a few words of thanks. And then I'd like to express my beliefs regarding the future. I'd like to thank you, those who bring to life the relationship between our two countries every day here in Algeria, but also from France or traveling between the two countries oftentimes. We need you. When times were tough, tense, you were the ones who kept that relationship with strength. You kept it alive. And I know that over the last few years it was difficult at the time of COVID, for instance, and I'd like to particularly thank our embassy, the whole of our staff, our consulate, Air France, and the whole of those who worked so that things worked to the best at a time which was at times complex and difficult. I'd like to thank the delegation that came with us, ministers, MPs, men and women of science, culture, sportsmen. There's a diversity in this relationship. Many people are here because they belong to that diaspora we're proud of. And they came here also because they're binationals or they originally were from here, because they lived that character and they came out stronger. I know that there's always some kind of truth in being late. There was a lot of exchange, conversation between those of you when I was away, and thanks to that, you managed to communicate and to build up projects to forge ahead. This bilateral relationship, first of all, is a treasure of small humanitarian gestures, lives, crossed lives, happenstance, faith, and all of what we can expect will have the same flavor. I've wanted to say a few words to explain to you why we came here, why we're building this with the whole of our delegation, eminent and rich in variety, in terms of what we want to do for the future of this relationship. And all of you are going to invent that relationship. First, we have to deal with the past. The past is important. We don't want to leave it aside. We don't want to hide it because it always, there's always a resurgence. But we don't want to be closed in that past. I'm struck when I see that relationship because it needs to be opened in time and in geography, and the constant risk is to be closed up. So we dealt with this past over the last few years, several of you. I would like to thank for dealing with this, Benjamin, Cécile, and a few others. The youth group, the several representatives and the two vice presidents, many historians, because you did a lot of work, unprecedented work in this relationship. And we did this for ourselves, first of all. Often we are told, oh, you did all that work of recognition, but what about the Algerians? What do they do? No, we didn't do for others to respond. We did it because it was critical for us. It is our history. It is a condition for building our future, so we're going to keep it up. But we made a few steps, which we introduced, and we decided last night and during the night with President Tebboune to make some headway. And that's unprecedented. We are going to set up a mixed commission of historians, men and women, and we're going to open all of our archives on both sides, and we'll ask them to work over the whole period from the beginning until the end of colonization and the war. 1 year from now, there'll be a report. There will be supplementary work as well, probably. Benjamin and all of you, you have to think ahead. But then we will act. And the project we had, which we were still planning in Montpellier, to set up a France and Algeria museum. Let's try and have this carried by a joint institute. It would be a little more than museum, but a place for cultural and academic collaboration, a place for meetings. We have to think in terms of various events in both countries. So we started laying the foundation of something new, about memory, to project a space for research and truth, recognition, but also action and culture sharing. I am a strong believer in that first stage. There are dangers, but I can tell you one thing here and now. President Tebboune and myself believe this is a need, this is necessary. Both of us, probably some people will say, no, that's not a good idea on both sides. So we'll try and convince them. Maybe we won't be always successful. Maybe some of them, maybe will stumble because it's quite complicated. But we decided to go ahead and to launch this. Now, going beyond, what we want to do, and the very precondition for that adventure, is to look at the past with honesty, lucidity, a quest for truth set up by historians so that there can be a recognition. We want to go ahead, turn a new leaf in this relationship. There will be several pillars. First, there will be cooperation projects, bilateral, regional, on political and defense issues, which we discussed over the last few hours. So together, we're going to build a new path, open a new path, which was, so to speak, interdicted. It was banned without going into the details of those discussions. So a maritime cooperation, so that's a big issue, and we're going to work on it. Then we want to open a new type of partnership for our youth and with our youth. We mentioned that this morning in meeting entrepreneurs, men and women. So that's one of the tenets of that relationship, that overall comprehensive partnership, which began with the both sides of the Mediterranean summit and various meetings. Clearly, we want to intensify that opening and that circulation between the two countries. And to follow up, we have 30,000 Algerian students every year in France. We'll host 8,000 more this year, and that's an opportunity for both countries. We want to assume that mobility of students, entrepreneurs, decision makers, researchers, cultural people and sportsmen. And we want to be more severe vis-a-vis illegal immigration. That's the crux, that's the neck, because that we have to assume. So we want to select that mobility, to share that mobility, especially between our youth. We have to be more severe and cooperative in fighting illegal immigration and networks. That's one of the points our ministers will have to take up and implement. The real stakes is to work through that mobility work, students, researchers, scientists, cooperative projects in all areas. We want to have a new French and Algerian generation of arts, culture, and sciences. And we believe that this relationship has to assume a stronger structuring decided by all of you between civil societies. We should not be content with government-to-government relations. Some of us this morning will be in charge of implementing that relationship. What I want to say here and now is that we assume as French authorities, and I felt that with President Tebboune, we assume the responsibility for the fact that those diasporas, those youths with shared faith and reciprocal interest are an opportunity. And because of that, they should be able to structure much more strongly our relationship. And then we have several projects of innovation. I won't give you the list, but let me give you a few examples. In digitalization, first we decided to set up a major fund with a key role. It was launched a few months ago, and quite a few people in the diaspora will be able to promote projects and to carry them on this side of the Mediterranean. And then we want to go more strongly and to help along the training to digitalization. And the School 42 will be a training site in Algeria. And then we will have a common incubator as well. There are many other areas we want to make progress on: food, on grains, metals and rare earths, energy, innovation, research partnerships we're going to structure with Pasteur Institute and CNRS, transportation, and so on. So innovation and entrepreneurship will be at the core of this partnership in the future. And then culture. Finally, we want to make headway on partnerships we know already in archaeology, in estates. There are a few sites. We decided to push ahead what was started in the early 2000s. We have artist residences we're going to broaden. We already have some in other countries, and we want to have them on a stronger stage in here. And then in cinema, for instance, some of you have made quite a contribution. But as I said in Marseille yesterday, 1 year ago, France wants to create contents, write narratives, and create. This is a civilizational, cultural struggle. We have a lot of competencies, actors, directors, scriptwriters, and in Algeria there are quite a few as well. And we have to write together narratives. So at the core of this relationship, we must be ambitious in terms of cinema. And this is a strong cinema creation country. So here as well, we want to set up common productions, capabilities, and exchange projects. I don't want to be too long. I will, after Oran, I'll be back. Part of the delegation tonight and tomorrow will go to Oran, and then would like to say a few words. I would like to come back to Algiers to greet President Tebboune and his ministers and to sign a common agreement, a common statement, which we decided upon last night. And when you are keen in the moment and you have that strength of the moment, things usually go well. So this is what we are about to write together. And you will have a role in order to carry through those projects. Every day, people will systematically document, will systematically say, oh, this is a poor idea, you shouldn't be doing this. A lot of people would have us believe that a part of the future of France would be to hate Algeria. And some people want to convince Algerian youth that their future is about hating France. That's not what we believe. That's not what you believe. So we have a role to play. We must be optimistic and show that we are right to be. Idealists, contrary to what a lot of people believe, are hard workers. Let's be idealistic and hard workers. Idealistic because this is a time when we can build that new future agreement, that agreement for the future, that new leaf for our youth. but we have to work hard, because I can launch projects and make commitments. But what really matters is to have concrete projects and achievements, jobs created, cultural projects, investment, better security, better achievements on both sides, and new perspectives. I think it is possible. And I believe that we don't just need to be patient, we have to be willing and keen, and I am keen and willing, and I think you are too. So let's work together, and there are many more issues. I don't want to be overly verbose, but this is all at the core of a narrative that never was very simple. But this narrative will remain a history of respect and trust and even love. Let's say the word. So, long live Algeria. Long live France, long live friendship between our two countries, long live the Republic.